Sure.
So now that we have spoken about what exactly are Singapore REITs and also the benefits and some of the limitations that we should take note of, I think the next thing on investors' mind would be, so how do we go about picking the REITs to invest in? So Jun Yuan, what are some of the areas that you look out for?
Okay, the first thing that I look out for when I look at a REIT is its financial performance. Two financial statistics I look at is revenue.
Okay.
And number two, net profit.
Net
so
profit,
for the benefit of those who do not know what revenue is the money that the REIT receives from the tenants. Like in the case of shopping mall REITs, tenants are those people like NTUC FairPrice, GV, all those shops that is in the mall. And net profit is like earnings that they get after deducting utilities, interest payments, staff costs, and so have you. And one of the ways to actually check whether or not the REIT's these two financial statistics are stably rising is to use an app called Yahoo Finance, which you can download via the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. So let me show you.
Okay,
Let's see.
Yeah, it's very convenient to get it on our
so
smartphones.
for CapitaLand Integrated Commercial Trust, you can see that its revenue and its net profit is steadily rising over the years. Okay, so this is one of the signs that it passes my criteria of having a sound financial performance. Yes, that's right.
Okay. So that's a good one. Yeah, that's also something that I'll look out for. On top of that, perhaps let me share one. Another matrix or criteria that investors can look out for is the occupancy rate. So this one is more of an operational matrix for us to look at, where eventually it will also get reflected onto the revenue, onto the bottom line, the profits of the REITs. So this is a pretty straightforward one because what we are focusing on is more on for the overall portfolio of properties that is managed by the REITs, how much of it are actually being leased out, are being taken out. As a rule of thumb, we would generally prefer to invest in one where the occupancy rate is maintained above 90%. But let's say that's just a general rule of thumb, because if we go in and drill down on individual REITs, we'll see that the percentages would differ slightly.
Correct.
And another thing is that we don't like it where the occupancy rate is falling. So there's like a declining trend for occupancy rate. That is one where we also wouldn't like it lah. So generally that's how we are looking at for occupancy rate, and this data is actually readily available for investors to actually get hold. So what we can do is simply just head over to the website of Singapore REITs, head over to the investors relation page.
That's correct.
Typically they will publish this some presentation slides, and on the presentation slides they will talk about the occupancy rate for the year or for the quarter versus the previous year or the previous quarter. And sometimes they also do some aggregation like by countries and so on.
It's very detailed.
Correct. So actually such data are easily available out there for investors to take hold of and make use of them. So that is one that I'll have to share. Okay,
and then another thing to look out for in the presentation slide is what is called the aggregate leverage, or some call it as gearing levels. What this aggregate leverage means is the debt level of the REIT. Just like for us, humans, we don't want to take up so much loan such that we are saddled with debt, and then we find it very hard to pay off the interest payment. So the same goes for REITs, where the management is very mindful not to take on so much borrowing such that they have a problem paying it off. So this aggregate leverage, how is it computed? It's a formula actually, where it is total borrowings divided by total assets. That will give you the aggregate leverage level. So for those of you who are, they don't understand what this means, it's a bit chim actually. So total borrowings from our layman perspective is the borrowings that we take up from the bank, such as for housing, for car, credit card loans, and all the borrowings that we have from banks basically. And assets are things like our house, car, the cash that we have in the bank, as well as other things like our investments. So for REITs, they are mandated to actually keep this aggregate leverage at below 50%. So personally, when I choose a REIT to invest, my preference is towards REITs that have an aggregate leverage of 40% or below. Why 40%? So which means to say that there is a 10% headroom from 40 to 50% for the REITs management to take on any acquisitions or buy properties when an attractive one comes along, which will help to boost up our dividends as well. So, I mean, having said that, the three criteria of this selection, what are some of the red flags of REITs that that we can take note of? Yeah, correct.